Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're coming to you live from Zanger's Industrial Supply in Melrose Park, part of our AM 560 Signature Bank Business Tour. And let's get right to it. This man needs no introduction, so I won't give him one. He's Hugh Hewitt.
He is our brother in sound.
He is that indeed, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's have Hugh join us post-haste. Hugh, thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Hope all is well inside the city of Chicago. Reading a great novel set there, a Nick Mason novel by Steve Hamilton. I'm a little afraid to go there. You got all this organized crime, nasty stuff going on there.
Yeah,
that's called our politicians.
Yeah, well, have you read Devil in the White City? Yeah, you got to read that. Hugh, let me ask you a question. With the Obamacare quote-unquote replacement that was advanced, are we forever destined to live under Obamacare light until Zeke Emanuel's death panels put us out of our misery?
No, it's not Obamacare light. That's all just posturing by the Freedom Caucus. Our friend Joe Walsh is off his rocker. Look, you can't get anything passed that doesn't get 51 votes in the Senate. The Ryan bill introduced yesterday is just a vehicle to get to the Senate, where the narrow gate is 51 senators. This is part one of a three-part drama. It's like watching Game of Thrones. And you can't have it all in the House on one vote. You got to take it a step at a time. Joe knows that. Other people know that. But a lot of people want to score points in their home district by pretending to be more conservative than Paul Ryan. So they do that. But this isn't Obamacare light. It is, in fact, the first entitlement reform, real one, of my lifetime. The first time that an entitlement Medicaid would be capped and devolved to the states forever. And so a conservative who opposes that isn't a conservative. It's not Obamacare light. It's the real deal.
So what is your what do you think these senators, their point of contention is with Trump Care, with this new health care bill?
Well, they don't want tax credits. Now, I understand that. They don't want tax credits, and I don't know that I would go for them either. Tax credits being a subsidy for people on the margin who are richer than Medicaid, but not rich enough to be able to afford their own insurance on their own. So they get a tax credit, which is a negative income tax, a subsidy, in those transition years. And the conservatives don't like that. They want a free market. If you can't afford health insurance and you can't be on Medicaid, suck it up and find a way to pay for it. That's not going to get through the Senate. So whether or not that's good for markets, what matters to me is getting rid of Medicaid from the federal budget and stopping the hemorrhaging, getting rid of the medical device tax, getting rid of the mandate that you purchase insurance. If you like freedom, you got to be for this. It's the art of the possible in part one.
Well, the art of the possible, though. I mean, what else are Republicans willing to give on in order to get to 60? I mean, some of the pieces of this replacement proposal that are popular include the expansion of health savings accounts, which is a market-oriented solution. But are they willing to give that up if it means getting the 60th vote? The eighth Democrat vote that they are.
Getting to 60,
that they need.
I don't even know what they're going to be able to do in getting to 60. There's a pretty tricky way. I don't want to bore the tears out of the audience, but if you use the Congressional Reform Act in conjunction with what are called false flag regulations, you can actually get rid of Obamacare forever. But the first step is getting rid of the mandate and getting rid of the Medicaid endless opening. So it is like a novel. You can't jump to the end of the book and expect to understand what's happened. And a lot of the conservative critiques of this yesterday is they wanted to be able to posture to their constituents that they were pure as the driven sow, and that's not how sausage gets made. And by the way, Trump is all in. The president's 100% in with the Ryan bill. So I expect that people who oppose it are going to get rolled in the primary. Trump needs this bill. He has to win this bill.
Do you think President Trump will be able to convince, all of the Republicans to be on the same page, though, at the end of the day?
Yeah, because I think when you get Trump, McConnell, and Ryan all behind something, you're marginalized if you're not in favor of it. You might be out there on the edge screaming, and that's fine. We need some people on the edge to define where the genuine conservatives are. But the purists never get anything done, and I think if you get Trump, McConnell, and Ryan all saying this is the bill, and they did that yesterday, well, then this is the bill. And, run for president if you don't like it. He did. He won. He wants this. Ryan is the speaker. The caucus elected him. He wants this. And McConnell engineered against all odds a Senate majority that makes this possible. I mean, we're this close to actually having an entitlement reform. I never thought we would be this close. And instead, they're worried about, the dust on the corner of the windshield instead of the fact that they got a Mercedes that they're driving.
But I want to switch gears and go to this Blackford Oak spy novel that, frankly, Bill Buckley, I don't think could have dreamed up. And that's we're on the cusp of entitlement reform, but it won't matter because the Russians control our government, according to the Democrats. And the lack of a shard, much less a shred, of evidence to support the claims that are being made by Democrats from all the way, you want to talk about all the fringe, all the way to Tom Friedman talking about Russia ambassadors' conversations with Mike Flynn being tantamount to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, to the more pedestrian narrative that Democrats are pushing, that there's just this undue Russian influence that needs deep investigation, and it all centers around Donald Trump and his compromised administration.
It's really nutty, Dan. I was on Meet the Press Daily yesterday, and with Jennifer Palmieri, who was Secretary Clinton's spokesperson during the campaign, and she said, it's my belief that there was collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians and Team Trump and the Russians, and both Dan Balls, who's probably the most esteemed neutral political reporter in America, and Chuck Todd jumped on that and said, James Clapper was just here and said, no, there isn't a shred of evidence of collusion between the Trump team and the Russians. And therefore, I actually support a special prosecutor. I would like Rod Rosenstein, who's the Deputy Attorney General, who's in charge of this now that Sessions is recused, to come in and name a former federal judge, former prosecutor, and say, not only do I want you to look into the Russians, I want you to look into whether or not Hillary ought to have been charged. I want you to look into the IRS. I want you to look into Fast and Furious and document slow walking. Let's clear the decks of 8 years of allegations. And we'll move forward over here on the other regular business, Department of Justice. You are the political crimes special prosecutor. Go forth and prosecute, because the people who get hung up on that petard are all going to have D's behind their name.
Well, Trump hasn't asked the FBI about wiretapping, and he doesn't regret tweeting about it. That's what we learned yesterday, during the hours-long press conference with Sean Spicer. Do you think Donald Trump in the Trump Tower was wiretapped by somebody in the Obama administration?
No, I don't. I think it's a term of art that the president didn't understand when he used it. I used to run the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court warrant process for 2 attorney general for a year. And so a FISA warrant application comes from the FBI Counterintelligence Division to a special assistant to the Attorney General, to the Attorney General, and then to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. The president has nothing to do with it. He has absolutely zero to do with it. So the president didn't order anything, unless the president broke the law in a way that Nixon did when he asked the CIA to tell the FBI to lay off of the Watergate investigation. I don't think there's any evidence that President Obama has done that. There was, however, surveillance of Russians that led to General Flynn's conversation being taped, transcribed, and illegally leaked. And so there is some skullduggery going on here. The imprecision with which President Trump described it didn't help him. And that's why I kind of hope, Amy, that he starts to have people look at his tweets before he tweets them out, because he could save himself a lot of trouble if he was more precise in what he wanted to call attention to is, I got to get to the bottom of this surveillance and illegal leak of the Mike Flynn transcript, because it's very troubling that we might have a permanent government that is trying to damage mine.
Well, yeah, so that really is the underlying issue, isn't it? And we talked to both Jim Kallstrom, former assistant director of the FBI, as well as just earlier this morning, Larry Johnson, a former analyst at CIA, as well as State Department, basically, who both said, look, there is something approximating a fifth column action going on in the intelligence community. And, of course, the idea of having political loyalists, so one party or another, one politician or another, fighting each other within agency and across agency in the intelligence world, that's a big problem.
Oh, it's huge, and it's very troubling. Meanwhile, we've got what Senator Johnson described on my program as an Ethel and Julius Rosenberg level breach of our weaponry. We have very sophisticated cyber weapons that are as destructive as nuclear weapons can be in terms of the amount of pain they can cause if you bring down grids and you cause airplanes to fall and that kind of thing. And so all of that was stolen from the CIA, all of it, according to the latest FSB GRU leak through the Russian front that is WikiLeaks. And Ron Johnson's out there saying, we're not paying attention to it, and we've got to, because it's truly a bad day for American foreign policy security.
I want to ask you about another topic just because it goes to culture and where we're at in this country, and that's the incident at Middlebury College, a well-regarded liberal arts college in the Northeast, where Charles Murray, hardly a provocateur, he's not exactly Milo Yiannopoulos, he gets shouted down by students there while trying to speak, and ultimately he and a professor and an administrator get bum rushed by a group of students. One student who pulls this professor's hair and injures her neck. And this has really bubbled to the surface among all the campus unrest and silliness and shouting down speakers. I think because of where it happened and what happened, the physical violence. A professor is not even a conservative, not a Charles Murray supporter, but just believes in something called academic freedom on campus, and she is violently attacked. And it seems to me the right question is not being asked about incidents like this. It's always about the particulars of what happened and who said what. The thing I think we should be asking is, what is it and what is being taught that leads students at a place like Middlebury to believe that they're empowered to shout people down and physically assault professors if they don't like what's being said? Doesn't that speak to what is being taught and the cowardice that's being taught at the majority of American universities in this day and age?
Even more than that, high school, Stan. I taught the Middlebury incident. I was at the Aspen Institute in Washington, D.C. yesterday, which is not a conservative place. It's a centrist place with both conservatives and liberals. But they all know Charles Murray. He's a very respected conservative academic sociologist, and people can read his books and either be moved by them or not be moved by them. I'm not a big sociology fan, but he has done Fishtown work, done work on Fishtown and other places, and he limited it exclusively to Anglo, so he would not get mixed up in the race debate. And these thugs attacked him and attacked his escort. And I think Middlebury needs to expel people. I think they need to move rapidly to identify and expel people from their campus. It's criminal, number one. They've got to refer whoever assaulted the professor who was with Charles Murray, but he almost got knocked to the ground. I think he's 70 years old. It's not exactly an act of courage for the demonstrators to do this, but there is this empowerment of crazy people to shut down speech that you can only stop if you act with just complete speed and ruthless messaging, that it won't be tolerated. You're gone from our community. Done.
Yeah, I think that's
should
right.
Be in jail.
He is Hugh Hewitt, host of the Hugh Hewitt Show, of course, nationally syndicated. I see him on the cable news talkies.
I see him more than my mother.
Well, he's more important than your mother.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. I'm
so
kidding.
Rude to say
Call
about
your
Louise.
mother, Amy. Call your mother.
I just
today.
meant to the conservative movement.
And my mom loves Hugh Hewitt, so yeah, I'll tell her that you said that, Hugh.
Also, get your mom Hugh Hewitt's new book, The Fourth Way, the conservative playbook for a lasting GOP majority. Hugh, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure, Amy. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.